Hi, cutie pies. Welcome to Tea and Glitter, the podcast. If this is your first time hanging out with me, hi, I'm Evelina, better known as Ivy of the LesVixens. I'm a lesbian burlesque performer. That's very important. Keep that in mind. And I've spent my entire career learning how to own my identity, my body, my sensuality, my sexuality, and to empower others to do the same. On this podcast, I spill the tea and give you all that gay girl glitter on how to live a happier, healthier, more gay life, a more lesbian lifestyle, if you will. This is a lesbian lifestyle podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for being here, and let's get into this episode. It is the girlfriend episode, part 2. If you haven't listened to part 1, rewind, go listen to that one. Let me know what you think. It's all about flirting and how to get a girlfriend, and now we're going to talk about how to keep a girlfriend. Are you ready to get into it? I am too. Let's do it. God, dating women. It's the best, but it's also the worst. But it's the absolute best, most amazing thing you'll ever do in your life. But it can also be like the worst thing ever, but mostly the best. You know what I'm saying? I've done a lot of it, and I've gone to a lot of therapy to get better at it. And today on this episode, I want to give you some of the best relationship advice I have. And this is the stuff that I wish that I had known when I was a little baby gay, just starting to date women. Like, I wish I had had this podcast. I would have taken so many notes, and it would have saved me a lot of pain and struggle and trauma. But hey, now at least I get to help you, so you don't have to go through unnecessary bullshit. Yay for you. However, some things you will have to go through because they are a canon event and I cannot interfere. But honestly, I would rather you all just start off with healthier relationships out the gate, or make the ones that you're in now even healthier. My dating history is full of some truly stunningly awful moments. From dating an emotionally abusive sociopath, good times, to dating a heroin addict, that was a doozy, to dating a very mentally ill little lady, hello Baker Act. And I've also dated some absolute gems. It's truly been a grab bag. My dating history has been interesting, to say the least. But throughout it all, I have been so grateful to be gay. Because even though it has been a roller coaster, I know that dating women is superior. And I want to help you get to experience the gorgeous, glorious, intense, sexy, burning, beautiful, unbelievably amazing world that is loving women. I want you to look at your girlfriend and feel like your heart is going to explode out of your ribcage because you just can't contain how much you love that person. I want you to fall in love so hard that you are never, ever the same again. I can't stress enough that dating women is the fucking best. I don't know if you're picking up on that. I don't know if you can tell that I'm a big fan, number one fan of dating women, but I love it no matter how challenging it has been in my personal life. But dating women is just extraordinary. And if you've been around the Sapphic block a few times, you know that I'm preaching the gospel truth here. It's so deep and intense and so beautiful. Dating women is soft and crushing and consuming and powerful and fun and will drive you absolutely wild while making you feel completely at home all at once. Other women understand us on such a deep level that it makes dating women a very unique experience. The connection is incredible, and it can feel like there's no end to the depth of feelings that you can have between two women. But let me tell you that even the healthiest relationships can be challenging. Cue the nervous laughter. You really have to dig in and do the work on yourself because none of us make it out of childhood unscathed and without some issues, whether that be legit traumas or communication struggles or whatever. And if you think that you're perfect, if you think that you've got nothing to work on, you think that you are ideal in every way, like, honey, come on, let's face some truths here. Like, literally everyone has things that they need to work on. It's a lifelong process. Don't think you're perfect, because when you get out in the world and if you think you're perfect, you're going to stay in a lot of denial. And I speak from experience. I thought I was pretty great. And then I realized that I'm pretty great still, but I had some things that I could really work on to make my relationships better, healthier, and to not be living in a trauma response constantly. Love that. Good times. For me, I've learned a lot about myself through dating women, some through healthy relationships, and a lot through toxic relationships. And while that's really annoying to me sometimes because I feel like I probably could have learned those lessons without going through the trauma, maybe not. Maybe I had to go through it to learn what I've learned, which is annoying, but okay, fine. Sure. For whatever reason, my history is what it is. And I've done my best to take what I've been through and transform it into a way to help others and to do better in my own life. I'm not perfect and I never will be, and I love to own up to that. But I can say that I try very hard, I do the work, and I make peace and health my priorities. Even if it means having to admit hard things or to have challenging conversations, whatever the case may be. Because the goal is to be a safe space for your partner or partners and vice versa. The goal is to feel free while being committed, by which I mean not feeling suffocated or controlled. To be as healthy as you can be, to have the most fun, to empower each other, to grow, to let your love sharpen the colors in your world, and to give you a soft place to land. So whether this is your first queer relationship ever, or if you're already killing the game at this whole girlfriend thing, or maybe you've been in a few relationships, but you're currently waiting for Cupid to strike again, this episode is going to be full of little golden nuggets of lesbian wisdom to help make things even better on the girlfriend front. And most of this can be applied to more than just queer relationships, right? Of course. But I don't think men are capable of this level. No, I'm kidding. Guys, relax. Sure, I would love straight cis men to listen to this and take things that I'm saying to heart. Over time on this podcast, we're definitely going to go deeper onto some of these subjects. Don't think that this is going to be a fully comprehensive video on every single bit of relationship advice I have in my noggin. So we're not going to cover everything. However, I've seen too many promising relationships fall to dust, and I don't want that for you. I want you to live in queer girl heaven all the time and not just when you're at my shows. I've also had a lot of people, especially recently, ask me for advice on their first time in a woman-loving woman relationship, so we're going to cover some of that as well today. If you haven't yet had your first relationship with a girl, it's okay. It doesn't matter how old you are. There is no gay girl timeline that you have to hit in order to be queer. And a truly loving person won't care that you don't have a lot of experience in this realm. They'll just be stoked that you're into women and stoked to see the sapphic world through baby gay eyes. And I use baby gay as a term of endearment, not in any way meant to minimize the experience. I love my baby gays. And even if you're 55 years old and just now starting to explore dating women, you're my baby gay, and I love you, and I'm so excited for you, and I'm proud of you. And I also want to state right out the gate that having a relationship or a girlfriend is not the end all be all. And it's not something you absolutely need to validate your queerness. You don't need to be in a relationship with a queer person to validate your queerness. You don't. You can be a queer person even if you're single, okay? So don't be stressing if you are still single. Don't worry about whether or not you're gay enough. If you haven't had sex with a girl for the first time, it's okay. Relax, okay? I just need everybody to chill out. You'll get there. It's going to be great, I promise. I do think that having a conversation at some point about loneliness in the queer community is a conversation that we should be having. And we'll probably have that at some point on this podcast because I know a lot of my gays out there feel very lonely. I was actually talking to the barista at Starbucks, and he was saying that he feels very lonely because, of course, our dating pool is a lot smaller, and so it's hard. But we'll touch on that in another episode. Okay, the last we left off in part 1 of the girlfriend episode, we were flirting with hot babes and ready to find ourselves a girlfriend. And maybe it worked. Maybe you found yourself a girlfriend, or you're getting ready to go on your first date, or maybe you're just prepping for when it does happen for you. Good for you. Study hard and you'll be a sapphic superstar before you know it. I'll get you little star stickers. You're going to be great. For the sake of organizing this episode, we're going to start right where we left off at the very beginning. So you just got a girl's number, you've been flirting, you've been texting, and you're ready to go on your first date. The smell of possibilities and the excitement of a new boo thing. I love this time. It smells like Christmas. It's so great. It's so exciting. I hope you are soaking it up. I'm going to live vicariously through you. This is such an exciting time for queer people. I love it. Okay, so we're about to go on our first date. I don't know about you. I don't know if it's just me, but I really prefer low pressure situations. So while it's perfectly wonderful to plan something really extravagant for your first date, and that could be a really cute story that you end up telling your grandkids down the line, I always aim for something simple, right? Because even if you just go to Starbucks, it's the lesbian way for a date to turn into a 3-day bender of cute and queer togetherness. So if you like each other over coffee, the coffee date can turn into dinner, which can turn into a nighttime stroll, which can turn into watching a movie at your house, which can turn into moving in together the next day, never leaving. If you end up banging on the first date, totally okay. If you don't even kiss on the first date, totally okay. Don't put weird expectations for yourself or for your date. Just do your best to let things be natural, let things progress organically. And even if you're an introvert or shy as hell, you're also awesome and amazing, and you deserve to be liked for being you. So don't lie or fib or pretend to be someone that you're not. Obviously put your best foot forward, but don't put an entire fake leg. You know what I'm saying? I know it can be nerve-wracking to go on a first date, but remember, it's supposed to be fun. So let it be fun. And remember what we talked about in episode 1. Flirt, make eye contact, contact, make sure she knows you're interested in her, because lesbians have this phenomenon where they'll go on like 47 dates with a person and neither one ever knows whether or not it was an actual date or not. So like you don't need to make a move if you're not ready for that, but make sure you're letting them know that you're interested as more than just friends. Flirt, make eye contact, and listen to them. Listen not just to like respond, but listen to them because you actually want to get to know them and you actually want to hear what the other person is saying, Also, if you asked her on the date, you pay. People are always like, who pays? We're both women. Who wears the pants? Shut up. If you asked her on the date, you pay. And then if she tries to fight you and tries to pay, you can tell her something like, you can get it next time, with like a winky face, wink at her. Because then she'll know, you don't have to wink at her. Some people are not good at winking and they just look sleepy. Anyway, but then she'll know that you want to go on another date with her. A little pro tip there. Also, just a note here for my babes who are sick of going on first dates. I get it. Like you've either gotten out of a long-term relationship and you just don't want to be back on the streets, or you've been on the streets for a while and Lady Luck has not struck in the love department. And you've just been on too many dates that have gone nowhere. Do your best to not be jaded. Like, yeah, I get it. I know that it's annoying to ask someone their favorite color for the millionth time, but I want to remind you that dates are supposed to be fun. So have fun with it. And like being in a sour mood can absolutely ruin an otherwise good time. This goes for anyone actually. Like being in a shitty mood can ruin a good time when it doesn't have to. So if you feel like you're going to be in a bad mood, reschedule. Don't put someone else through that simply because you're having a pity party for yourself. Okay? I don't know. I feel like there have been enough good times ruined by people who were just grumpy. Get out of here, grumps. No one's going to want to date a grump anyway. You can be grumpy when you're in the relationship. Not on the first date though. Come on, guys. So let's say you survived your first date, you're rehydrated, you can't wait to see them again, it's going really well, you're both into each other, you're already thinking about names for the first dog or cat you're going to adopt, you're checking out U-Haul rates, like it's going really well. I think it's preferable here to not assume that you're exclusive or girlfriends already until you have a conversation about it, because you know what they say about assuming. Yeah. In my opinion, you are just in the talking/dating phase until you've had an in-depth conversation about what you are. Communication is everything from the very start, right? So don't make assumptions about whether or not you're exclusive or if you're girlfriends, because that can lead to some uncomfortably awkward and painful situations. And honestly, I think asking someone to be your girlfriend is just so cute. Like it's so cute. Like make it a to-do, plan something cute, like have it be romantic. I just think it's so come on. What a cute moment. Stop. Don't stop. Keep going. I love it. But of course, some of you might be asking, well, like, how long do I wait before asking? How long do I wait before having that kind of conversation? And I really can't answer that for you. I'm so sorry, sweetie bones. Because it really depends on you and the other person or people. But don't be scared about having conversations. This is my biggest, most overarching pieces of advice that I'm giving to you, begging for you to understand that communication and hard conversations literally are the foundation for healthy, happy relationships. I really truly believe that the health of all relationships comes down to having conversations. Honest ones, good ones, hard ones, scary ones, easy ones, the kinds of conversations that help you understand the other person and to see if you're actually compatible. And we all know girls can talk. So get to talking, homies. Because the fact is that the honeymoon phase is so fun and amazing and gorgeous and intoxicating, but it's intoxicating because there are literal chemicals flooding your body and your brain that make it feel so magical. And those chemicals will wear off, and then you're left with a real person with real issues and a real relationship that you need to evaluate and see if you're compatible. You don't need to panic if things start to change once the chemicals wear off. I think a lot of people struggle at this point because, we want the honeymoon phase to stay. We want to feel that passion and that excitement. But like, I hate to break it to you, but it's a chemical thing. It has nothing to do with you or the other person. It doesn't mean that you're falling into a slump. It literally just means that the chemicals at the start of a new relationship are just different than as you progress into a deeper relationship. But that doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It just means that you're moving into the next phase and the deeper phase of relationships. This is a good thing, my friends. This is deeper. This is more real. It's like having a puppy. Okay. So imagine this, they're so cute and so fun and like all those things, but then the puppy grows into a dog and it's different than having a puppy, but it's better. The love you have for that dog is so much deeper than the kind of novelty of the puppy. So the magic can still exist. The rush, the passion, the fun, it can all still be there. However, it will not exist without effort, communication, and intention, right? At the start, The chemicals really help you along there. But once those fade and you move into a deeper phase of relationship, that's when you really got to dig in and start being very intentional. Prefrontal cortex, like get into it to make your relationships secure and happy. This is why communication and getting to know the person is so important. I'm not calling anyone out right now, but if the shoe fits, I think that many of us have traumas, and sometimes we're so focused on not being alone or on just getting attention and love and like those good time feelings that we find ourselves with people who we don't even like or who are not good for us or who aren't healthy, but we stay because we crave that attention and someone to offset our loneliness. When we wear rose-colored glasses, red flags just look like flags. There's a difference between the chemicals just receding a bit and you having to put more intention and effort into the relationship, or with the person just sucking. Or just really not being right for you, which is where what I like to call the 3 L's comes into play. Live, laugh, lesbians. Just kidding. It's love, lust, and lifestyle. And these are the 3 umbrella categories that, in my opinion, are the basis for a healthy and happy relationship. Love is the obvious one. That's the first L. Love is for the... Okay, I'm done. You gotta love someone to be with them. And that's the gospel truth, my friends. If you don't have love for someone, if you don't care for them, if you don't want the best for them, you should not be with them. You should want the best for your partner or partners. That doesn't mean that they can't annoy the fuck out of you or get on your nerves or do things sometimes that hurt you. No one is perfect. We're all human. We're all gonna make mistakes. But you have to appreciate your partner or partners. You have to love them and care for them and want the best for them and for their life. If you don't love someone, please don't keep dating them. If you start to feel yourself caring less and less about them, please take the time to evaluate what's going on so you don't start treating them like you don't love them or that like you don't even like them. It's not fair and it's damaging. So either fix what's gone wrong or end the relationship if you stop feeling love for that person, okay? Because you have to have the first L, which is love. The next L is lust. Oh my. And this, of course, if you're on the ace spectrum, this isn't exactly applicable to you, and that's okay. I'm just making a caveat. If you are ace, you're also wonderful, but this L, you may not really care about. But lesbians are notorious for falling into the roommate syndrome and experiencing lesbian bed death. Dun, dun, dun. And like I said, if you're not on the ace spectrum, sex and physical intimacy should still be priorities in your relationship. And it's not just about sex. It's not just about the physical act of sex. Like, this L encompasses romance as well, flirting, anything that's not platonic. The lust is about desire and making your partner feel like they're not just your friend, Romance should not end once you actually become girlfriends. Like, put in effort, keep flirting with your girl. All those tips from part 1 of the girlfriend episode, use them. Don't let your partner end up feeling like they're just your roommate. And yeah, it's like nice to not have to be on all the time. Like, I totally get that. And sweatpants can be super sexy, but it's super easy to stop putting in effort, and no one deserves that. I'm not saying that you have to be dressed to the nines every day and showing up without allowing yourself to be more comfortable or relaxed or whatever, but I'm just talking about effort. I'm talking about making sure that your partner feels desired. Keep your hygiene on point. I've seen couples, they just kind of devolve and it's like, what happened? I think it's easy for that to happen with women, because we get really comfortable with each other, which is a big pro. We love that part. But once your hygiene starts to fail or things like that, it's like, ugh, clean up after yourself, keep working out, keep doing the things that you were doing when you were trying to woo her. I see a lot of people just stop working out, stop taking care of themselves. They stop doing the things that were exciting to them. They stop pursuing their passions and things like that. And they also stop creating passion within the relationship. Again, it doesn't have to be banging like bunnies, because the fact of the matter is that the chemicals in your brain will invariably be different as time goes on. But still, treat your girl right and eat your girl right. Know what I mean? And I do know that sex at the start of relationships seems a lot easier. It happens a lot more frequently and all of that. And then as you start to get into the relationship, you might notice that your sex drives aren't exactly matching up. And that's okay. I don't know of any relationship that I know of currently where the sex drives are perfectly matched, right? But that's okay. I feel like that's completely normal. But don't forget that romance and intimacy and sex should still play a role in the relationship. Flirt with your girl. Kiss her for longer than a peck. I see that all the time. People don't make out anymore. They stop making out. I hate that. Make out. Even if it's just for a few minutes, it doesn't have to turn into sex, but like, don't just peck kiss them and go about your day. You want to still make your girl feel desired. Tell her how hot she looks when she's in those sweatpants with her hair in a messy bun and how you love to see her like that. Go on dates still, even if it's just once a month, once every 2 months. Hold her hand, kiss her little paw. It doesn't have to be full-blown passion 24/7 because that sounds exhausting, honestly. But just don't forget that she's your girlfriend, not your roommate. Okay? So that's the second L, lust. And the third L is lifestyle. Okay, so while we definitely need the other two L's, this L is the one that holds the most weight when it comes to relationships, in my opinion, because it's the most multifaceted. You can be in love with someone and have amazing physical chemistry, but if your lifestyles and life desires don't work, the relationship probably won't work either. It starts off with the basics, like, do you want kids or hell no? Are you a night owl and they're a morning bird? Do you like to go out and party and they are homebody? Like, of course, a lot of these things can definitely be overcome, but it takes effort and intention to navigate them. And it also comes down to your non-negotiables. I think this concept is incredibly helpful when it comes to navigating this L, the concept of negotiables and non-negotiables. The way my therapist put it is that imagine that there are 3 buckets, right? The first bucket are things that you don't really care about one way or the other, right? Like, doesn't really matter to you. Whatever is in that bucket is like, don't care one way or the other. The second bucket holds things that you are comfortable negotiating about. So that's your negotiable bucket. And the third bucket holds your non-negotiables. And what goes into each bucket? Totally up to you. And this is something that you might want to think on if you've never really heard these terms. I don't think a lot of people really understand what their non-negotiables and their negotiables are in relationships. So for example, for me, a non-negotiable for me is that I don't want kids. Sorry, they're fun and I want to be the gay auntie one day, but that's it. And if you want kids and that's a non-negotiable for you, we're probably not compatible long term. It would just create a lot of strife and resentment that we could avoid by just not dating each other. So if you want kids, great. Just not for me. So no, thank you. Another non-negotiable for me is that you have to be taking care of your mental health. I've dated people in the past who were not invested in their mental health. And even though they had been accurately diagnosed with mental health issues that needed attention, they would not take care of themselves, and it made it impossible to maintain a healthy relationship. So I just won't do it. It's a non-negotiable for me. If we date, you are taking care of your mental health. And I mean it not just you journal occasionally. I mean full stop. You better have your butt in therapy. If you need some meds, you're on meds. You're journaling, you're walking, you're doing your thing. That is a non-negotiable for me. I don't think it's crazy to want that, whatever. Anyway, that could be a negotiable for other people, which is totally fine. Something for me that's a negotiable is night owl versus morning bird. I don't need to date someone who has the same schedule as me, because that would be insane, because my schedule is insane. We'll catch each other for some afternoon delights, but it does take some navigating, but it is a negotiable for me. Another thing I don't necessarily care about, I'm just thinking of examples, is church, right? If I dated someone and they wanted to go to church, I guess that's fine. As long as they don't want me to go, because one, why so fucking early? But also as long as they're not devolving into internalized homophobia, puddles of awful, or trying to convert me. Don't try to get me to go to church, guys. It's not going to happen. But have at it, homie. This is just a side note. When we talked about internalized homophobia, I've noticed that it's harder to deal with it when you do go to church. So let that be a lesson to you. However, there are some really great progressive churches that I think help heal some of that. We're going to talk about that on our religious trauma episode that I'm considering having a guest on for that. Very exciting. That's in the pipeline. So stick around for that. Okay, but anyway, back to the buckets, right? So there's things that you don't really care about. There's your negotiables, and then there's your non-negotiables. And so you really have to get clear for you what goes into each bucket. And once you've figured those things out, you gotta communicate that to your partner or your partners. And you might discover that some of your buckets shift around as things go on, or your life changes, or whatever the case may be. Or you might not realize something is a non-negotiable until it is. And that's all okay. But this kind of curiosity and intentional exploration of what is important to you in life will help you figure out if your moral compass aligns with your partner's. It will help you figure out if your trajectories of life are complementary, or if they align well enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it won't be perfect, but at least has to not hinder your life. Does that make sense? Waiting for you to answer. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Okay, so let's get real about communication. I was being fake before. Just kidding. But now we're getting real. Man, communication, bro. Dude, it's everything. Everything. It is literally everything, okay? And yet it's so hard for so many people to do. What is that? Why is that? I mean, my goodness, do people struggle with communication? Okay, like I do get it because I think a lot of us, most of us grow up without learning how to communicate directly and clearly. It's not like our parents really taught much growing up, so I'm going to give them a pass. Give your parents a pass. But now it's up to us to teach ourselves. Go to therapy, do what we got to do to get into our adult brains. You're not an infant. You're not a child. You can communicate the things that you need in life. Stop expecting people to guess your needs and how to meet them, and instead learn how to communicate them. Expecting people to be mind readers, expecting them to just know what you need is setting them up for failure. And that's not fair. That's not fair to you. It's not fair to them. Certainly not fair to them. Be direct. Learn what your needs actually are in your relationship, and then tell your partner, man, communicate it. You know, it seems like such a simple thing, but I know it can be hard. I know it feels super vulnerable. What is that? God, the idea of like telling someone that you need something from them. Banksy, hi. He's looking around like he's gonna jump up and mess something up. Big stretch. There he goes. If you watch on YouTube, you can see Banksy right now. Anyway, back to the episode. It seems like such a simple thing to communicate your needs to someone so they can meet them, right? But it is such a vulnerable thing, and no one really enjoys being vulnerable. It's scary. I hear that. I feel similarly. A lot of the time I've learned that vulnerability is not as scary as I thought it was, but I still don't like it. Admitting you need something, like the worst thing ever. I know some of y'all are cringing right now at the idea of letting someone know you need something, but buck up, buddy. Look up, get over it. Get over your internal issues and communicate directly. I think a lot of people default to passive aggression, and I hate that. It's damaging. It's way easier. I say easier as in like you're being lazy with your prefrontal cortex and like your emotional development, your emotional intelligence by being passive aggressive. Anyway, cut that shit out. I'm over people being passive aggressive. It's 2023. You're better than that, okay? You're better than being passive aggressive. You can communicate. I believe in you. I've also found that doing the work to identify what my personal needs are has shown me that a lot of what I thought I need, I don't. And a lot of what I do need is pretty easy to get if I'm able to communicate it clearly. Imagine that. You know, such simple concepts, but so hard. Why so hard? I don't understand it. Communication also comes in handy when it comes to sex because every body is different. I think we need to quit being embarrassed about things as well. As I was working on this particular episode, I was talking with someone about how so many women hate their vaginas or think they're ugly or gross or they're embarrassed by them. And I just hate that. You know, it all comes from misogyny. And I'm getting off on a tangent now, but the way misogyny has a chokehold on women's bodies is infuriating. So let's collectively get over that, okay? And start to celebrate our gorgeous poussoirs. And let our partners know how we like to be touched and kissed and licked and fucked, okay? Okay. Like I said, every body is different. So also when you start dating someone new, let's say you had a previous girlfriend, your ex is now, whatever, you've moved on, and you start dating someone new, what your ex liked and what this new person liked may not be the same thing. And so don't assume, but also new person, you got to communicate that because otherwise we might just be trying to do what we did before that worked and it may be way off. Communicate, just talk about it. Come on. Talk about it in the moment too. Like when it's happening. A little to the left could change your whole life. So get comfortable with communicating in the bedroom. The better you get at communicating clearly and directly, the better sex you'll be having. Woohoo! Please don't say woohoo in the bedroom. No, you can't, just kidding. This is coming from the girl who said neat the first time. Anyway, the healthier your relationships will be as a whole, and the more your needs will actually get met, especially when you keep the goal of comprehension in mind. Intention is everything, and if your intention is to have your partner know you better, understand your body better, understand your needs better, understand how you need your needs to be met, you're good. You can absolutely communicate in ways that are healthy. I believe in you. I know for a fact you can do it. I know it feels uncomfortable, but I believe in you. You got this. It may feel uncomfortable at first, and it may feel embarrassing or just hard because it is vulnerable. And if your partner's not a safe space, it's even harder to communicate those things. But that's why we're talking about these things today. So we can all become safer places for our partners. We can be better equipped to be these safe spaces where these vulnerable conversations can happen, and we can have these unjudgmental moments with the people we love so that we can all feel accepted and understood. It all sounds great, doesn't it? Get into it and let me know how it's going for you. Another helpful thing in relationships is to identify and communicate your love languages. I'm sure you've heard of love languages at this point, but if you haven't, the term love language refers to the way that a person prefers to express love to and receive love from a partner or partners. It generally comes in 5 types: physical touch, acts of service, quality time, gifts, and words of affirmation. I think it's really worth trying to figure out what yours are, like in terms of which ones are the strongest for you, and not just how you like to receive love, but also the ways you speak it really well, and to learn your partners. Because you might speak one, I'm using that as quotes, really well, but it's not the way your partner feels love best. For example, if you love gift giving, if that's something that you're so good at and you do it a lot, but your partner's not materialistic in any way, shape, or form, and quality time is actually what they crave, the gifts will be nice, but they're not going to translate in the way that you think they might. And so if you kind of know that about your partner, both ways, if you know that your partner loves to give gifts, like you can be a little more gracious when they do give you gifts and understand where it's coming from. But then if they know that quality time means more to you, you can better tailor things to be more satisfying for both of you. Effort gets appreciated and everyone feels loved. Yay. Love languages are not an exact science, and there are some criticisms about them that I definitely agree with. So I think it's better to just use them more so as a guide to help make sure your love isn't getting lost in translation. So instead of using love languages as an end all be all tactic, because I think some people do that, they lean too far onto love languages in their relationships. But yeah, use it just as another tool. We'll talk about love languages in more episodes, I'm sure, because I find it really interesting, and I'm a bit of an anomaly when it comes to them, but that's a conversation for another day. However, something that I think is truly a game changer. This is huge. Get ready for it. If you don't get anything out of this episode except for this next section, this is it. Learn about attachment styles. Whew. Buddy, one of the most helpful things I've ever done is learn about attachment styles. Mind blown. Felt so understood, and also understood my exes, understood other people in my life so much better after I learned about attachment styles. I want to get into it more here, but there's just so much to talk about when it comes to them. So instead of overwhelming this episode, I'm going to put a pin in it for a future episode, but just trust me. Look up attachment styles. Figure out which one you are, which one resonates the most, which one sounds the most like you. You can also do this with a therapist, or I'm sure there are quizzes, etc. on the internet. Which one your partner or partners are. You can also encourage them to do the same thing. I wouldn't force them to do it if they're not interested. I'd hope that they would be, because this is all self-exploration to help your relationship get better. But anyway, not everyone's going to do that. But yeah, doing it together is even better. So attachment styles, look it up. Have your mind be blown and watch your relationship get healthier. On that note, though, I've also learned that you can be doing all the work on yourself. But if your partner or partners aren't doing the work, it's going to be a struggle. You can only do so much on your side of the street. And if they aren't working on their side, it definitely makes it harder to have a healthy relationship. So remember that. Remember, it's not about being perfect, but it's about feeling like your partner or partners are putting in attention and effort into the relationship. This is a big point that I think more people need to understand, that it's not about exact equality. It's not about a 50-50 split at all times. It's about reciprocity, not equality. It's about balanced effort, not identical effort. Because your strengths and weaknesses will be different from your partner's. Your capacities will be different. And even your energy levels will be different. And that can fluctuate from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. Let's say, for example, you love to cook, right? Couldn't be me, but you love to cook and you love to make delicious meals for you and your babe. So you meal prep, you make dinners, you do all that, but you suck at planning date nights. So your lady friend plans the date nights and you keep her fed through the week and you're both happy. It's not about equal, it's about reciprocal. And I hope that example even though it's cheesy, like gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. I think too many people focus on having things be 50-50, but that's just not realistic. And it doesn't make sense for two people who are very, very different. As long as you feel like your relationship is balanced as far as reciprocity goes, which reciprocity is one of my favorite words. I hope you're enjoying it. You're doing pretty good. However, if you feel like you're always the one reaching out, you're always the one planning things, you're always the one trying to see them, you're always the one texting them first, calling them first, doing sweet things, and they're just like existing, no, that's not it. I know there are less of us out there to date in the queer world, and it's hard to find someone in the first place. Like, let's acknowledge that. I get it. But that doesn't mean that you should ever put up with a relationship that is truly unsatisfying and unbalanced. Of course, please be realistic with your expectations and do not put people on pedestals. We're all just humans out here, so while we can and should have certain standards and expectations, we should also allow for humanness, for mistakes, for not having it all figured out, for being in flux, for not being perfect. Forgiveness and grace are huge in relationships. However, I think sometimes we are so desperate to be loved or to have attention that we put up with abuse or people who don't treat us with respect. And that's just not it. I've been there. I've been in relationships with straight up abusive people. Some people are just so toxic or unhealed that they cause damage. And sometimes they're not even cognizant of it, or worse, they might be a narcissist or a sociopath or just so emotionally damaged themselves. And we all know that hurt people hurt people. Several of you even asked me to talk about domestic violence in queer relationships, and that is a very real issue and more prevalent than one would think. Getting real with looking at the person, like I said before, rose-colored glasses just make red flags look like flags. Like, we have to get real about who we're dating, how we're being treated, what's happening in our lives. And then I think something that women-loving women fall prey to in relationships is a thing called enmeshment. I'm going to talk about that for a minute. Enmeshment basically blurs the lines between you and your partner. You aren't very autonomous in your relationship. You're very codependent. Boundaries are very unclear. You don't even have them, really. Or if you do, they're not maintained. Enmeshment hinders your ability to manage your own emotions, wants, and needs. It hinders your ability to be separate from your partner. Enmeshment can cause a whole mess of issues. So it's incredibly important for queer women, especially, to be aware of this, to maintain autonomy in their relationships, to have clear and solid boundaries, and to not meld into one another. Don't isolate yourself. Don't lose sight of the things you enjoyed doing before the relationship. And don't rely entirely on your partner to be your everything. Like, I hate that. No one completes you. You are already whole. You don't need someone. They're not your other half. You are a complete whole person, and whoever you're dating should just be adding color to your life. If you feel like you're losing sight of who you are in the relationship, if you feel like the colors are no longer vibrant, that you're feeling very pale and muted, these are kinds of signs that you need to watch out for as far as enmeshment goes. Relationships should just add color to your life, not be your life. You have to have hobbies and interests and a life outside of your relationship. How many times have you seen your queer friends drop off the face of the earth once they got into a relationship? So easy to do, honestly, because girls are so cozy and it feels so nice and comfy to be with them, right? So this is not just like in toxic relationships. This is an unhealthy thing that happens, but it can also happen to people who are just feeling so good in the relationship. I know that a relationship can feel so wonderful and so cozy and feel so good, which makes you just want to wrap yourself in the relationship like a warm, comfy blanket and just exist in a sapphic cloud of love where nothing else exists and you never leave. But I'm telling you that you can have the coziness of that relationship while maintaining your own sense of self, your own wants and needs and desires, and your own life outside of the relationship. Keep your friends. Keep making new friends that aren't just mutual friends. Keep doing things that you like to do. Do things without your partner. Shocking. I know. Wow. What a concept. And have things that are just yours. Give each other space to breathe so that you don't suffocate each other. Not only is this healthier, but your partner fell in love for you for a reason. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't because you did nothing all day but wait for them to text you. Get out there and keep living life while loving your lady. Your life does not have to shrink once you get into a relationship. Even healthy relationships can fall into this. And there are periods of time where women-loving women just want to hibernate with each other, and that's totally fine. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. It's when your identities meld, your autonomy disappears, your boundaries become unclear, and your wants, needs, and desires are not yours anymore. Does that make sense? I keep asking that. Tell me, does it make sense? I hope it's making sense. One final note on something that affects women loving women relationships is being in the closet or dating someone who's not out yet. I think it's way easier to come out once you actually have a girlfriend than coming out before. I didn't come out until I had an actual girlfriend. I also didn't know I was gay until I had my first girlfriend. But if you're dating someone and they're not out yet, please have some compassion there. Give them time and understanding and love and a soft place to land. They may not be ready yet to come out, and that's okay. It's also okay to want or to need someone to be out to date them. Remember when we talked about our negotiables and our non-negotiables? Your non-negotiable can be that you have to date someone who's already out, and that's totally fine. But if you do decide to date someone who isn't out yet, you can both give them time and love and space and also have boundaries with it. It really does depend on what your needs are, and I would not recommend ultimatums. I don't think they're the way to go. You can, of course, let them know some things that you need. Like, for example, like you need a place to have sex that isn't the back of your car because in this heat, y'all would die, It's totally fair for you to also have needs in the situation, even if you're the one who is out and your partner is not out yet. So be understanding, be patient, but also have your own needs understood and met. Does that make sense? God, I'm gonna stop asking that. It's totally fair for you to also have needs in the situation, even if you are patient and loving and understanding of your partner not being ready to come out. And if you're the one who's not out yet, please communicate with your new girlfriend. Communicate your fears, let them know why you're not comfy yet and what you need from them. Like, for example, if you're dating someone and they're being kind of a dick, if they're making passive aggressive comments about it, you can ask them to stop doing that or to stop making you feel pressured to come out. But I do think this is a time when communication is very key, because if your partner can understand your reasonings behind why you feel fearful, why it's uncomfortable for you, why you're not ready, then they're better able to support you. In all things, you have agency. So remember to speak up, communicate, be direct, both of you. If you're out of the closet, if you're not out of the closet, if you're starting a new relationship where one person is still very much in the closet, that's going to take some navigating and lots of communication. So get comfortable with that, while you're sitting in your closet. Relationships ain't easy, kids, but my God, they are so worth it. For every annoying or emotional mature thing you have to do, ew, gross, we hate being emotionally mature, there are a million spectacular moments of laughing, sex, intoxication, understanding, growth, tenderness, hunger, craving, satisfaction, bliss, ecstasy, fun, excitement, pleasure, and sweetest affection that make it worth it 1,000,000,000 times over. So do your best to be a safe space for you and for your partner or partners. Work on your own shit. Learn how to communicate, get better at it. It's a daily practice. Okay, I have to head to Girl the Party right now. I'm supposed to be on stage in 40 minutes. So good thing hair and makeup already done. If you're seeing me on YouTube, what do you think? Cute, right? Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that this episode is valuable to you. I hope that, I brought up a few things that you hadn't thought about, or maybe I put things in a light that made you go, I never thought of it that way. Like, I really hope that that's something you thought. Let me know if that's something you thought. I would love to know. And again, thank you so much to everyone who has been coming up to me and sharing with me that they love the podcast. I literally was at Medieval Times today before filming this, and this very, very sweet girl in our photo department, she came up to me and told me that she loves the podcast. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to cry. And I'm a queen with a sword and I'm crying. Thanks. But it really does mean the entire world. Thank you guys so much. I think I've mentioned a couple times that this is a lot of work and I overestimated it, but it's so worth it. Just like relationships. They're a lot of work, but they are worth it. Okay, enough jibber jabbing. Please review this, give a positive review. If you want to leave a bad review, don't. Get out of here. Stop it. Stop with your passive aggression. And don't forget, next episode is going to be a Q&A. So if you have questions for me, send them to me. Thanks so much. I'm going to try to pick interesting, juicy ones to share here on the podcast. Yep. Give it a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a comment. I read them all. My mom also reads them all. Also, my mom said I should stop swearing so much in these. And then someone commented that they love that I swear. So which one is it, Mom? Should I be swearing or not? You guys tell me. All right, guys, thank you so much. I love you. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Be good to your partner or partners. And I will see you in the next episode and on some stage in some gay bar somewhere, like in 38 minutes at Girl the Party. All right, love you guys so much. Bye.